Ever since the superhero domination bubble burst at the box office, many people have speculated that the next genre to rise would be video games. After the surprisingly solid Sonic films and the overwhelming financial success of the Super Mario Bros., it seemed that prediction was well on its way toward actualization. And then Borderlands arrived.
For fuck's sake!
The fact anyone could think that a film based on a looter shooter could actually work was already stupid. However, to choose one requiring that you read copious amounts of mission logs and seek out hyper-specific conversations with NPCs to fill in the narrative gaps was completely asinine. But just how bad could it possibly be? The film opens up with a shit ton of exposition, as was to be expected. Designed with the express purpose of catching up non-fans to the history of Pandora, the Vault, and everything in between. More importantly, this info bombardment introduces us to Tiny Tina, the girl who is the key to everything. Tina is the daughter of Deucalion Atlas, CEO of the aptly named Atlas Corporation, a major weapons manufacturer. She is being held captive by secret Mr. McMystery in a high-tech prison. Luckily, she is rescued by the absolute most badass soldier in the entire galaxy, Roland, who is played by the only actor anyone could possibly see filling the role, Kevin Hart. Why is he saving her, you ask? Well, as legend has it, she's the fabled daughter of Iridia, and capable of opening the vault on Pandora. A quest that many people have dedicated their entire short-lived and brutally ended lives to completing. Along with newfound friend and fellow escaped prisoner Krieg the Giant Psycho, they all escape. Meanwhile, 50 light-years away on Promethea, the bounty hunter Lilith, played by a trashy-looking Cate Blanchett, pulls a bounty into a bar and is offered a contract, because they magically knew she would be there for some reason. The job is to track down and recover Tina, an assignment that she has zero interest in. And since polite negotiation isn't a thing that happens in this movie, she just shoots everyone, until she is confronted by Atlas himself, sorta. She explains that there is no amount of money that would ever get her to go back to that shithole until she sees all the zeros. Arriving on Pandora, because apparently 50 light-years can be traversed in a few days in this world, we are treated to even more exposition, as is tradition. And Lilith is picked up by Marcus, who forces her to watch an unskippable cutscene as he drives her to Firestone, which may actually be the most clever usage I've ever seen of that trope. Yeah, not bad actually, but pretty decent usage. After being kicked out of the bus, she immediately encounters Claptrap, being played by Jack Black. It's amazing to think that this is only the second worst thing that's happened to him in the last month. He also magically knew that she would be there because the plot demanded it, and he is programmed to serve her. Though he's not exactly sure why. He uses the Echo Net, the magical plot progression device, to find Tina. Together they commandeer a psycho outrunner, and if you haven't played the games and don't know what any of that is, why are you even watching this movie?
I don't know.
Tina doesn't take well to being found and immediately attempts to murder Lilith with dynamite. Lilith somehow survives despite there being enough explosives involved to level a skyscraper.
They got missiles, automatic weapons, and enough plastic explosives to orbit Arnold Schwarzenegger.
When that plan fails, Tina turns to Krieg to fight in gladiatorial combat. As all this insanity is going on, Atlas's private army, the Crimson Lance, arrives to capture Tina. Which begs the question, why did he even hire Lilith in the first place?
I don't know.
Especially with all this nifty character-finding technology around. Before the Scarlet Stupidity Squad can accomplish this, though, our bastion of masculinity Kevin Hart comes back to save the day by piling everybody into an armored van. A chase ensues and he tries to outrun the moronic maroon mercenaries who proceed to open fire on our heroes. Wait a minute, are you dumb motherfuckers actually shooting at the person you're trying to recover? Seriously.
Keep the kid alive!
Anyway, in order to lose them, they take a detour through the Valley of Piss and Shit and easily dispatch of a Thresher. Again, if you haven't played the games, you don't need to know what this is since it's gone before it matters. In hopes of gaining some answers to all the crazy shit that's been going on, they turn to fan favorite Mad Moxie, who... Wait, what the fuck? Why would they choose a 62-year-old woman to play the hot bartender?
I don't know.
Seriously, it seems like they went out of their way to cast old people. Isn't the average gamer like 18 to 34? And I'd assume they aren't into gilf porn. Most of them at least. It makes absolutely no sense. The ages of the characters in the Borderlands series have always been a bit vague, but it's pretty safe to say Moxie wasn't a geriatric. Gina Gershon is about 3 decades past the shelf life of the character. But back to the plot. Moxie gives them directions to another boomer variant, Patricia Tannis, played by Jamie Lee Curtis. They just keep getting older. Tannis now takes up the mantle of the info dumper as she explains all the details about the keys and how the plan requires an Iridian girl to open the vault. This leads to the realization that Tina is in fact a lab-grown human designed specifically for this purpose.
What a twist!
Seeing as how they already possess one of the keys, a piece of information that I actually missed somewhere in the garbage dump of information, and the next one just so happens to be located underground nearby, they nearly possess everything they need after only 45 minutes of screen time. Damn, how's that for efficiency? Pretty good, right? Yeah, I agree. No, I don't think in any way that that's just convenience for the plot. No. After fighting through hordes of psychos, they acquire the final piece before the film moves into Act 3. For the sake of everyone's sanity, I don't want to waste any more of your time, so I'm just gonna jump to the end. If you care about spoilers, which I've been doing the whole time anyway, I don't know what to tell you. You should just maybe cover your ears for about 30 seconds or something. The group is once again confronted by the brain-dead Burgundy Brigade, this time led by Atlas himself, who demands they open the vault. But it turns out Tina was never the daughter of Iridia after all. It's actually Lilith, who proceeds to take the form of the Firehawk. Basically the Phoenix from X-Men if you made it lame and uninteresting, so... She kills everything in her path until Atlas threatens to kill Tina. She then opens the vault, showing him it's just a prison for the Destroyer, a massive intergalactic being, before sealing the door with him inside. So how bad was this movie? Let me put it this way, in recent years there's been a ton of progress toward legitimizing films based on video games. And Borderlands may have single-handedly set that movement back by decades. It's a series of glorified fetch quests so overly reliant on key jangling that it might as well have been directed by a janitor. Borderlands, I kid you not, managed to mess up every single major aspect of movie making in one absolute 100-minute train wreck. When you have a story looser than that shit I took after that gas station burrito, you need some truly transcendent performances to elevate the cinema experience. That could not be further from what we got here. Every character's written like they're playing a tabletop roleplay using loaded dice so the whole party can only roll 20s. The actors don't seem like they care if they're there at all, and the director only seems worried that famous names make the credits. I'd argue not a single actor chosen was the right hire for their role. Leading the pack is Cate Blanchett, who is firmly planted in the just accept whatever job's point of her career. Here she opts for a monotone girl boss who just shoots everyone indiscriminately regardless of whether it makes sense or not for the scene. This is a huge step down from her days as Galadriel. Hell, even when she played Hela she showed more range than this sad display of sleepwalking apathy.
Really?
Next we have Claptrap, played by the increasingly irrelevant Jack Black. Claptrap is supposed to be both annoying and funny, but Black only manages to get one of those things right, since not a single one of the 4 people in my theater laughed at even one of his jokes. I'm not really sure why it's a trend to replace iconic video game character voices with Hollywood actors that can't do the job half as well, but I really wish that they would stop, especially since it seems Jack Black finds his way to the top of the list every time.
Told you that line wouldn't work.
I don't know about you, but when I think of Roland from Borderlands, the first actor that pops into my head is definitely Kevin Hart. There's no better man in Hollywood who has the bravado and imposing presence of a 5'2" family-friendly comedian known for being The Rock's butt monkey. The fact they landed on Hart either means that there was no other options, or the others were so laughably bad that Hart looked rough and tumble by comparison. He doesn't do the worst job of anyone on the cast, but it's damn near impossible to take him seriously for a single moment of screen time. Now, I normally don't like to critique child actors since they tend to be fairly new to the trade. However, Ariana Greenblatt has somehow found herself in several terrible projects recently. It makes it hard to decipher whether she's a bad actor, picks bad roles, or just has a bad agent. Whatever the reason, I'm afraid she's gonna end up being the next Zendaya, an actress I just can't escape no matter how hard I try. One can only hope she quickly outgrows this enfant terrible trope.
It's Smash Mouth!
Sorry for the terrible French uninspired. Finally, we have Jamie Lee Curtis, who I'm fairly certain was under the impression she was playing multiple characters, as her acting swings wildly from scene to scene. She lacks any sort of on-screen chemistry with the other actors, which is impressive since half the film she is sharing scenes with a fellow Academy Award winner. It's almost as if the director didn't bother to do his job and just left her to her own devices. But I guess at least her inconsistent tone offsets Blanchett's indifference.
I needed a gun. God, I hate this.
Considering the film barely cracks the hour-and-a-half marker, you'd assume it's going to move pretty quickly. But when your complete lack of plot is just a series of contrivances and conveniences, it doesn't even feel like you're watching a movie, really. It's more like a YouTube playlist of cutscenes missing the gameplay in between. By the time you realize nothing has happened, the whole thing is over. The only good thing is that then you get to go home. I'm not even sure if there was a post-credits scene, because I wasn't waiting for that shit. And if you think the pacing is terrible, wait till your eyes start bleeding from the terrible camera work and CGI vomit all over the screen. Not a single thing from the scenery to the props hasn't been digitally enhanced in some way. Even Krieg's abs got the post-production treatment, because this guy certainly wasn't in good enough shape already. It's hard to create something so inauthentic that Disney and Warner Brothers would get jealous, but we may have a new champion here. Also, when it came to reshoots, Eli Roth couldn't even be fucked to come back, opting to do Thanksgiving instead. So Tim Miller took over, which likely accounts for some of the inconsistencies. On top of all of this, they also shit the bed in terms of marketing. Not only did they not drum up any interest from casuals, they actively pissed off the core fan base, which never goes well. In short, chances aren't looking very good that the studio is turning a profit on this one. Borderlands really does represent a grand slam of failing terribly at filmmaking. Dog shit writing, piss poor acting, enough CGI and jump cuts to trigger epilepsy, and a flaccid ad campaign have effectively left this dead in the water. And there it should remain, just a cold floater in a pool of rancid piss left to decompose and be forgotten to time. And if that's not enough to convince you that this ill-advised computer-generated diarrhea makes Uwe Boll look like a genius,
Hey, hell no!
then I'm not sure anything I could possibly say would do the trick.